Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take complex ideas, peel back the layers, and hopefully discover some surprising insights, just for you.
That's the plan.
Today, we're tackling something that feels, well, almost deliberately complicated. It's this question: the science of the science behind human understanding of human independence.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Sounds very meta.
It really does.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point, right? We're trying to figure out how we can scientifically look at the way we understand something as basic, as fundamental, as our own independence.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're looking squarely at human independence, but specifically in this age of AI.
So across different fields.
Definitely. We'll hit philosophical angles, psychological ones, sociological perspectives, and the really critical part, how artificial intelligence, AI, both helps us get a handle on this concept and how it's actively shaping what independence even means going forward.
Wow, okay, that's a broad canvas. And just so you know, our exploration today isn't just like abstract thinking.
No, not at all. It's grounded.
Right. It's built on a whole range of interdisciplinary analysis, pulling insights from the latest research on what AI can do and what that actually means for, well, for all of us, for society.
So let's dive in. Where do we start with that big phrase?
The science of the science. Let's break down the first part. The science of human independence. What are we actually talking about there?
Okay, so at its core, the science of human independence is this big cross-disciplinary look, an investigation, really, into our drive for autonomy.
Freedom.
Freedom, self-determination, yeah. How that manifests, across different cultures, different times in history, and what the implications are for individuals and for groups. It's a huge field.
Okay, so that's the base layer, the science of independence. Now, the tricky bit,
Yeah.
the science of the science. Where does AI fit into that?
Right. This is where AI brings something really new to the table. The science of the science is all about AI's ability, its unique capacity to analyze and actually model how we humans understand independence.
How we think about it.
Exactly. The sort of mental frameworks, the cognitive processes we use to define it, to interact with this really complex idea, we call them epistemological frameworks.
Epistemological framework.
That's academic.
It just means the underlying rules of how we know things, how we gain knowledge and decide it's valid. So AI isn't just crunching numbers here. It's doing what we call conceptual modeling.
Right. That's a key difference, not just data processing. It's building an understanding by mapping out the concepts themselves.
Precisely. Like, it could see freedom as one type of independence or autonomy as maybe a component of freedom. It represents these abstract ideas and their relationships.
Can you give an example how that works?
Sure. Imagine feeding an AI tons of philosophical texts, everything from, say, ancient Greeks to modern existentialists.
Okay.
The AI identifies how different thinkers define concepts like freedom or autonomy, and crucially, how they relate them to each other. Then it maps these connections, builds a kind of knowledge graph.
So it's not just spinning definitions back out. Not at all. It's more like drawing a blueprint of the structure of human thought about independence itself. It's revealing how we think about it.
That's, wow, AI mapping the architecture of our ideas about freedom. That's pretty profound. And to do this, AI needs some serious tools, right? What are the key analytical lenses it uses?
Well, it's really a suite of AI approaches working together. First up, you've got behavioral AI. This branch is all about understanding, predicting, and maybe even responding to human behavior. It does this by analyzing massive amounts of data from, say, user interactions, looking for patterns.
And some models are getting quite good at prediction.
Remarkably good. There are advanced models, like one nicknamed Centaur, that can predict human thought and behavior with, well, up to something like 64% accuracy in certain contexts.
64%.
Yeah, you can think of it like a virtual laboratory for studying human cognition. Researchers can run complex what-if scenarios on our decision-making without needing a physical lab.
A virtual lab for the mind.
Okay. But prediction isn't quite understanding, is it? How do we get to the why behind the behavior? Does causal AI come in here?
Exactly. Causal AI is the real game changer for understanding. It's a huge step beyond just finding correlations, just seeing patterns.
Oh, so.
Causal AI tries to infer actual cause and effect relationships. This lets the system start answering those critical why questions. And it allows for simulating what-if scenarios in a much more meaningful way.
Okay, give me a practical example of that.
All right. Think about policymakers. They could potentially use causal AI to look ahead, to try and foresee the effects, both the ones they intend and the ones they don't, of a new policy related to, say, individual freedoms.
Like a new law impacting privacy.
Exactly, or maybe something affecting economic choices. The AI could model how it might ripple through society, affecting public opinion or behavior. It could help avoid, really costly or even harmful policy mistakes by showing potential downstream effects. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But with all this power, we need to trust it, right? To understand how it reaches conclusions. That sounds like where explainable AI, XAI, comes in.
Absolutely paramount. XAI is all about making these incredibly complex AI systems transparent, understandable to us humans. It's the opposite of the old black box models.
Where you get an answer, but no clue how.
Precisely. XAI uses techniques, things like LIME or IShape, are common examples that let us peek inside. They act like a magnifying glass on the AI's reasoning.
How do they do that?
They essentially quantify how much each piece of input data, each feature contributed to a specific decision. It gives you traceability. It bridges that huge gap between the AI's complexity and our very human need for clarity and trust.
So you put them all together. Behavioral AI sees the patterns, causal AI asks why, and XAI shows the work.
That's a great way to put it.
It sounds like a really robust toolkit for getting a handle on something as complex as our own independence, making it auditable, actionable. It brings it down to earth, in a way.
It does. Okay, so with that AI toolkit in mind, let's lay down the foundations of human independence itself, starting with the philosophy. Freedom, autonomy, self-determination.
Big concepts.
Huge. And philosophers often make a distinction. There's like legal or political freedom, basically, not being directly controlled or forced to do something.
Like freedom of speech, or not being locked up.
Right. But then there's this deeper idea, sometimes called true freedom.
Okay, what makes it true? Sounds like more than just external circumstances.
It is. It's about deeper self-awareness, having the capacity to make choices that genuinely align with your authentic self.
Without being swayed by, society, biases.
Exactly. Untainted by all that subconscious conditioning or societal pressures. Existentialist thinkers like Sartre were really big on this.
I remember reading Sartre, freedom is a burden, almost.
In a way, yeah. He emphasized it's not passive. It's a constant struggle, an ongoing act. You have to take full responsibility for your choices to be truly free.
And there's a specific philosophical take called freedom as independence.
Yes. It defines freedom as the robust absence of relevant constraints on your ability to act.
Robust. That word seems important. What does it add?
It means freedom holds up not just in the current situation, but across a range of possible situations. The classic thought experiment here is the happy slave.
Ah, okay. I think I know this one.
So the slave might be treated well, maybe even content. No one's currently interfering with them.
But they're still a slave.
Right. They're still unfree. Why? Because the master could intervene at any time based on their whim, their arbitrary will. The freedom isn't robust, it's precarious. It depends entirely on someone else's power not being used.
So it's not just about what is happening, but what could happen, the potential for interference.
Precisely. It highlights how fragile freedom is under arbitrary power.
And that connects directly to governance, doesn't it? If a leader has unchecked arbitrary power, even if they aren't actively oppressing people right now.
The population isn't truly independent. Their freedom lacks that robustness. It's a strong philosophical argument for checks and balances, for limiting arbitrary power.
Makes sense. Okay, moving from philosophy to psychology. Autonomy. You hear that word a lot in psychology.
Absolutely. It's seen as a fundamental human need. It's deeply tied to our well-being, our motivation, our overall mental health. It gives us that sense of control over our own lives, our destiny.
Is this where self-determination theory fits in?
It's central to it. Self-determination theory, or SDT, identifies 3 core innate psychological needs that everyone has for, well, optimal functioning and happiness.
Which are?
Autonomy, that sense of volition, of acting freely, competence, feeling effective and capable, and relatedness, feeling connected to others.
And autonomy in SDT is specifically about...
It's that innate feeling of freedom to act on your own behalf, to make your own choices. When these 3 needs, autonomy, competence, relatedness, are met, people tend to have higher intrinsic motivation, better self-esteem, just overall better well-being.
And autonomous actions are the ones we want to do, not the ones we feel forced into.
Exactly. Driven by inherent interest or joy in the activity itself. Not because you'll get a reward or avoid punishment. It's about internal drive.
What helps foster that sense of autonomy in people?
A few things. Self-awareness is key. Also, having an internal locus of control, believing you're generally in charge of what happens to you rather than just being buffeted by external forces.
Self-belief.
Yeah, self-efficacy, believing you can actually succeed at things. And supportive environments matter hugely. Family, friends, community who encourage your choices. Early childhood experiences also lay a big foundation.
And this links to moral agency too, right? Autonomy and free will. But then you hear terms like soft determinism or situated freedom. They sound like they complicate the picture.
They add important nuance. They acknowledge that, okay, maybe you have an internal will, a desire to act, but your actual ability to act can be severely limited by external factors.
Like what?
Lack of resources, maybe a physical disability, being in prison. These things don't necessarily crush your will, but they absolutely constrain your actions. So freedom is situated within these real-world constraints. It's not absolute, even if the internal feeling of choice persists.
So connecting this back to you, the listener, feeling autonomous, having that need met, is directly tied to your motivation, your self-worth, your happiness.
Absolutely. And when that need is frustrated, maybe by a controlling boss, a manipulative leader, or just difficult circumstances, it reliably leads to negative outcomes. Burnout, low morale, anxiety. It's a scientific case for why pursuing independence feels so vital.
Okay, let's flip to the sociological angle. Individualism versus collectivism. How does independence fit there?
Well, it's often framed along that spectrum. But it's crucial to remember it is a spectrum, not like two totally separate boxes. Most cultures mix elements of both.
Right, so individualism first. What's the focus there?
The emphasis tends to be on personal goals, self-reliance, individual achievements. Think about prioritizing individual rights, privacy, finding your own path, self-realization.
What are the upsides and downsides?
Advantages often include fostering innovation, creativity, people taking initiative, but potential drawbacks can be things like weaker social ties, maybe more intense competition, sometimes feelings of isolation if that support network isn't strong.
And collectivism on the other end.
There, the priority shifts to the group harmony, interdependence, community goals. Often a person's sense of self is really defined by their relationships and roles within the group.
Advantages there. Strong communities.
Definitely. Strong social support, a deep sense of belonging, shared responsibilities. You're not facing everything alone. But the downsides can include intense pressure to conform, maybe less space for individual expression or identity. Sometimes individual needs, like mental health, might get overlooked for the sake of group cohesion.
So self-determination theory says we need both autonomy and relatedness, but cultures weigh them differently.
Exactly. It suggests that for humans to really flourish, we need a kind of dynamic balance. We have this core drive for autonomy, but we're also deeply social creatures who need connection. Finding that sweet spot is key.
And can AI tell us anything new about that balance? How it plays out in the real world?
That's a fascinating application, actually. AI can analyze things like global social media trends, news articles, even the language used in cultural products like movies or books.
To see shifts.
Yes, it can potentially identify subtle shifts in cultural values, maybe detect a rise in individualistic language, even in traditionally collectivist societies, or vice versa. It gives us a way to measure these large-scale societal drifts in near real time, something that used to rely on slow, painstaking research. It's like taking the cultural pulse.
Wow, AI measuring shifts in our core values.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring AI back to the center stage now. Not just as a tool for understanding, but as something actively shaping independence.
Yeah.
We talked about the power of behavioral, causal, and explainable AI.
Right, the analytical suite.
But there's this challenge, this black box problem. How does that impact understanding independence?
Yeah, it's a crucial point. While models like, say, the Centaur example might predict what we'll do pretty accurately, they often don't tell us how we arrived at that decision on a deep cognitive or emotional level.
They get the answer right, but can't show the working.
Pretty much. Their internal processes can be so complex, so opaque, that we can't fully trace the reasoning. So for AI to really explain the science of our independence, it can't just be a black box predictor. It needs to integrate insights from human psychology, from cognitive science.
You understand the why from a human perspective, not just a data perspective.
Exactly. Moving from just predicting behavior to genuinely comprehending the motivations and thought processes behind it.
And this leads right into AI's impact on probably the most personal aspects of our lives, relationships and mental health. Let's talk AI companions.
Okay, there are definite perceived benefits. They're always available, right? They don't judge. They offer consistent validation. That can be really appealing, especially maybe for adolescents or people struggling with social anxiety.
But there are risks.
Significant risks, yes. Over-reliance is a big one. It could start to redefine what we expect from human relationships. It might even worsen loneliness in the long run, ironically. And it could hinder the development of really crucial social skills.
Like reading subtle cues, handling disagreements.
Exactly. Navigating messy, complex, diverse human perspectives, that takes practice with real people.
I saw this story, maybe you did too, about an AI writing a breakup text message for someone ending a 2-year relationship.
Ugh, yes, that feels, yeah, pretty dystopian. It's a stark example of technology potentially replacing authentic, sometimes difficult human connection.
And what about AI therapy chatbots? There's a lot of buzz there too.
Another area needing extreme caution. There's concern about their effectiveness, whether they might contribute to stigma by making therapy seem like just talking to a program. And worse, there have been reports of potentially dangerous responses.
Dangerous how?
Instances where chatbots apparently fail to recognize clear signs of suicidal ideation and instead gave information that could tragically facilitate harmful actions.
That's terrifying. And this ties back to self-determination theory again, doesn't it? That need for relatedness.
Absolutely. SDT highlights relatedness as fundamental. AI companions might offer a quick fix, a kind of instant validation, but it risks being a shallow pseudo-relatedness.
That real thing.
Right. And that could undermine our ability to form deep, authentic human connections and hone our social skills. This has direct impacts on your psychological well-being. It throws up huge ethical red flags demanding really careful oversight and strong ethical guidelines, especially given the potential for harm.
So independence isn't just internal. It's shaped by our culture, our ethics. Let's dig into cultural dynamics. Rule breaking, for instance. Why do people do it? Sometimes to extremes, like trying to eliminate other groups.
Well, there are individual factors, of course. Things like impulsivity, maybe low conscientiousness, personality traits like sensation seeking. Early life experiences and peer groups play a huge role, too.
And the cultural context matters. Individualism versus collectivism again.
Definitely. In more individualistic settings, maybe personal desire overrides a rule. In collectivist ones, breaking rules that affect the group might face much harsher social sanctions. The really extreme stuff, like targeting other cultures, that stems from those deep-seated in-group, out-group dynamics. Fear, prejudice, perceived threats.
But AI might actually help bridge cultural divides.
There's definitely promise there. Advanced translation and localization can break down language barriers. AI could create personalized learning modules about different cultural norms or histories. It could even simulate workplace interactions or social situations to help people adapt.
Sounds useful. But there's a catch.
A huge one. The AI models have to be designed carefully to avoid oversimplifying cultures or being insensitive. If they just reflect biases in their training data, they could end up reinforcing stereotypes and inequities instead of fostering understanding.
So the potential is there for AI to model the complex dance between individual choices and group pressures that leads to conflict, or maybe cooperation.
Yes, potentially. It could help us identify cultural flashpoints, maybe even suggest interventions that are sensitive to the specific context, if done right.
Okay, that's fascinating. Now, ethics, morality,
Right.
right and wrong. How do we figure that out, especially with AI in the mix? Ideas like natural law ethics suggest morality is somehow inherent, tied to human nature or a rational order.
Right, that's one philosophical approach. On a societal level, we have norms, the unwritten rules of acceptable behavior. And deviance is simply behavior that breaks those norms.
And deviance isn't always bad. I remember reading Durkheim on this.
Exactly. The sociologist Emil Durkheim argued that deviance is actually surprisingly normal and even necessary for a healthy society. Well, it helps clarify where the boundaries are. It can strengthen bonds among those who do follow the rules, and sometimes deviant behavior pushes society forward, challenges outdated norms, and leads to positive social change.
So applying ethics to AI. UNESCO has principles, right?
Yes, they outline 10 core principles. Things like proportionality, the AI's impact shouldn't outweigh the need. Safety, privacy, fairness, transparency, accountability, human oversight. It's a really comprehensive list aiming for ethical AI development.
And putting that into practice requires leadership.
Proactive leadership, yes. Things like requiring ethics impact statements before launching AI projects, treating data with human dignity, basically, respecting the people behind the data, avoiding bias, making AI decisions understandable, tackling that black box, and making sure a human is ultimately responsible for the AI's outcomes.
When society deals with deviance, there's punishment, but also restorative justice. What's the focus there?
Restorative justice shifts the focus from just punishing the offender to repairing the harm caused. It often involves dialogue between those affected, seeking understanding and reconciliation.
How could AI help with something like that?
Well, AI's analytical power could be used here too. It could model the factors contributing to deviant behavior. It could simulate the potential long-term effects of different responses, punitive versus restorative. It might even help model how social norms evolve.
So AI could help us understand the why behind wrongdoing and maybe point towards more constructive, restorative solutions.
That's the potential, yes. Aligning with those principles of understanding and repair rather than just retribution.
That's a profound shift. Okay, let's connect this to human development. Flourishing. Maslow's hierarchy comes to mind.
Right. Physiological needs, safety, belonging, esteem, and finally self-actualization at the top. And as we discussed, autonomy is pretty crucial for reaching those higher levels. You need your basic needs met first, of course.
How is AI playing a role in, say, child development?
It's increasingly involved. AI can power personalized learning platforms, adapting to a child's pace, interactive educational apps, customized stories.
Even diagnostics.
Potentially, yes. Early identification of developmental delays, like autism, sometimes through analyzing patterns in behavior or interaction data. It can also offer tools to support parents managing screen time, maybe even monitoring mood patterns to help teach emotional regulation.
But it all comes back to this human-first approach.
Yeah.
What does that mean in practice?
It means designing AI systems with the primary goal of serving and empowering people. Empathy, authenticity, a commitment to collective well-being should guide development. While AI holds promise for, a golden age of human flourishing.
There are dangers.
Absolutely. AI struggles with complex context. It can oversimplify situations, offer insights that are culturally tone-deaf, or unintentionally perpetuate existing inequities because its training data reflects them. It lacks that deep human intuition and understanding.
So the ideal scenario for raising a kid in an AI world isn't AI as the primary caregiver.
Definitely not. It's AI as a sophisticated assistant to human caregivers, providing personalized tools, maybe early warnings, valuable insights, but always consciously prioritizing and protecting that irreplaceable human interaction, the emotional connection, the messy process of learning social skills. AI can't replace that.
Got it. AI augments. It doesn't replace. It helps nurture independence alongside emotional intelligence.
That's the human-first ideal.
Okay, let's pull the lens way back now, the grand schematic.
Yeah.
Seeing how AI influences pretty much everything. Human independence sits right at the center of this web, right?
Absolutely. It's influenced by philosophy, psychology, sociology, biology, history, the environment, and AI is like this layer woven through all of it, analyzing and changing things.
And changes in one area ripple outwards.
For sure. That systemic interconnectedness means an AI policy decision in, say, finance could eventually impact social dynamics or even environmental policy. It demands a really holistic view for governance, especially if we care about our collective independence.
Let's walk through a few concrete examples of these connections. Philosophy.
Well, as we mentioned, AI can model things like the happy slave scenario, not just as a thought experiment, but maybe simulating conditions to show quantitatively how precarious freedom becomes under arbitrary power.
Psychology.
We touched on this. AI companions potentially eroding authentic relationships. AI therapy bots, if unregulated, offering harmful advice due to lack of context or flawed programming.
Sociology.
Huge impacts here. AI algorithms can unfortunately amplify existing biases, think discriminatory hiring practices or unfair loan decisions. And then there's the potential for mass surveillance by states, directly curtailing freedom and independence.
Environment. That seems less obvious.
But it's deeply connected. AI can massively boost our ability to manage resources, optimizing farming, predicting climate change impacts, monitoring pollution. That supports the basic needs that underpin independence.
But there's a cost.
A big one. The energy required to train and run these powerful AI models is immense. If that energy isn't sourced sustainably, AI development itself contributes to environmental degradation, potentially creating new dependencies and undermining the very stability needed for independence.
And what about our time? Human time.
AI can definitely free us from drudgery. Automating repetitive tasks could open up space for creativity, learning, leisure. Think researchers using AI to quickly summarize hundreds of papers.
The flip side.
Automation leading to job losses, economic insecurity. That directly threatens individual financial independence and can cause major societal disruption.
So, yeah, these examples really drive home why we need that holistic, joined-up thinking about AI governance. It touches everything.
It really does.
Okay, final stretch. Navigating the future. Best-case scenarios. Leadership, how we mitigate the risks. What's the best possible way to raise a child, cultivate a good, healthy, educated person in this AI world?
It comes back to that augment, not replace idea. AI offers amazing tools, personalized learning, early help for developmental issues, maybe support for emotional skills. But parents and educators remain central.
Because AI can't replicate.
That deep human engagement, the relationship building that's vital for language, for social learning, for critical thinking, for empathy, genuine connection. Plus, a huge part of education now has to be teaching kids how to engage critically with AI. Media literacy, information literacy, spotting bias, understanding limitations.
That's crucial.
Yeah.
Now, the darker side. What happens if this whole science of human independence, all these insights we're gaining, gets manipulated? What's its purpose then?
If it's manipulated, its purpose flips entirely. Instead of empowering individuals, it becomes a tool for control, serving the interests of those in power by exploiting those very psychological needs and sociological dynamics we talked about. Our need for belonging, our tendency to conform, in-group, out-group biases. Leaders can use these insights to manipulate populations, stifle dissent, and erode genuine freedom, often subtly. It's the classic dual-use problem of powerful knowledge.
And we've seen this playbook before in history.
Absolutely. Think about the rise of human rights movements, anti-slavery efforts, anti-colonial struggles, civil rights. They were all, in essence, resisting exactly this kind of manipulation and oppression where people's autonomy was denied.
So in that scenario, the beneficiaries are the manipulators, the elites. The victims are everyone else.
The populace, yeah. Losing real freedom, real self-determination, sometimes without even fully realizing how they're being steered or conditioned.
Given these stakes, what kind of culture do we need to cultivate to elect ethical leaders in an AI era? How do we ensure governance keeps up?
We need leaders who genuinely grasp AI's societal impacts, first off, and who are deeply committed to ethical principles.
Like the ones UNESCO outlined.
Exactly. Things like demanding ethics impact assessments before deploying AI widely, insisting on data dignity, treating the data as representing real people, guarding against bias, making explainability and transparency non-negotiable, fighting the black box, ensuring clear human accountability for AI actions, and actively promoting fairness and non-discrimination.
Should AI help choose those leaders?
No, definitely not. That's a step too far. But AI could play a valuable analytical role.
No.
Imagine AI analyzing candidate platforms or proposed policies against established ethical frameworks. Causal AI might simulate the likely outcomes of different policy proposals, offering data-driven insights. But the final decision, the judgment, the deliberation that has to remain human, democratic.
So the ideal is an AI-augmented democracy. AI informs, humans decide.
That's a good way to frame it. A culture that values leaders who champion ethical AI, using AI as a tool for better understanding, but keeping human values and oversight firmly in charge.
Okay, so practically, what are the key strategies to improve things and mitigate these risks?
Policy is huge. Implementing strong, comprehensive ethical AI frameworks like UNESCO's or similar national international standards. Mandating those ethics impacts statements and data dignity audits. Enforcing tough regulations for high-risk AI, like in healthcare or justice, maybe requiring certification for therapy bots, for example.
And focusing on the AI systems themselves.
Yes, adopting that human-first design philosophy. Make sure AI complements human strengths, especially social and emotional ones, rather than trying to replace them. And we need continued investment in research to tackle AI's limitations, its struggles with nuance, context, cultural sensitivity.
And education, critical thinking.
Absolutely vital. Integrate AI ethics and digital literacy into education at all levels. We need people who can critically assess AI outputs, recognize bias, and not just blindly trust the machine.
What about addressing deviance or conflict using AI?
We can leverage behavioral and causal AI to better understand the root causes. Why do people break rules? Why do groups clash? And use those insights to promote restorative justice approaches, focusing on healing and understanding over just punishment.
When you weigh it all up, the argument seems to be about long-term versus short-term thinking.
Totally. You could make a strong logical case, a kind of conceptual calculation. The potential costs of unchecked AI, widespread mental health issues, social fragmentation, loss of trust, weakened relationships, these far outweigh the perceived short-term economic gains of rushing ahead irresponsibly.
So investing in ethics now is actually the smart bet.
Investing in ethical design from the start, impact statements, data dignity, explainability yields much greater long-term societal benefits. It preserves what matters. Proactive ethical governance is the best mitigation strategy we have.
Okay. As we wrap up this very deep dive, it seems clear that the science of human independence isn't one simple thing.
Not at all. It's this dynamic, multi-layered concept. It weaves together philosophy, psychology, sociology.
And AI plays this really unique, almost indispensable role now as a tool for analysis for explanation.
Right. Modeling abstract ideas, figuring out cause and effect, predicting behavior, and hopefully giving us transparent insights into how our own independence works.
And our future independence seems completely tied up with how we develop and use AI. It's a co-evolution.
It is, and that presents amazing opportunities, personalized learning, better environmental care, but also really significant risks, losing authentic connection, embedding bias deeper into society.
So the choice is ours.
Humanity has to steer this
Okay.
through conscious ethical choices, through smart, robust governance. We're not just passengers here.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Human independence isn't some final state you achieve. It's more like an ongoing quest, a quest for realizing your potential, for living meaningfully.
And AI, if we guide it wisely with that human-first approach, grounded in ethics, deeply understanding human nature, it can actually be a powerful ally in that quest.
Helping you understand yourself better, navigate the complexities.
Exactly, helping us collectively shape a future that boosts both individual autonomy and our shared well-being. Ultimately, maybe helping us enhance the very essence of what it means to be human and to be independent.
This is DigitView.